So as always, our comfortable seated position can be whatever feels right for you. We'll just spend a couple moments here to get centered, get our breathing going, all of that good stuff, and then we'll get going and get moving. So first things first, I want to bring us into kind of our center, to bring us into our breathing as we get started today. So just taking these first couple of moments to either allow your eyes to close or your gaze to soften. And once you've done that, taking just a couple of moments to notice where your breath is at just naturally today. Notice where you're starting. Notice if maybe there was something stressful that happened at the beginning of your day today or throughout the day today that kind of brought on that shallower breath, shallower breathing. And maybe take this couple of moments to take your first couple of nice deep breaths for the day and center and focus in on that. And as you start to notice where you're at as we get started, like we said, beginning to take those deeper breaths, beginning to extend the length of your inhale and exhale. And allowing your body to kind of adapt as you do that. As you lengthen that inhale, allowing the lungs to fill, allowing the chest to expand, the ribs to expand, and maybe you sit up a little bit taller as you inhale. As you exhale, finding that little bit of relief and relaxation. So if you would take a nice deep breath in the middle of the day, that exhale would just kind of let it all go and release. So just kind of allow your body to adapt to that. Even if you round out your spine a little bit, just finding those nice deep inhales and exhales. And as you continue to do this, moving into that awareness of the body, so just taking a couple moments to take a scan. Notice how you're feeling today. Notice where those points of tension are. Notice where the stress is built up throughout the day. And use that exhale to find that relaxation, to find that release. So maybe with the exhale, you allow your jaw to relax and your tongue to come away from the roof of your mouth. Maybe you allow your shoulders to release and relax a little bit. Maybe your hands are balled up into fists, allowing your fingers to release. Same thing with the core and the back. And finding it all the way down through the legs. Maybe if the position you're in doesn't allow for a lot of relaxation, loosening it up, allowing your legs to come out long, or just loosening up that cross. Taking just a few more moments here to finish that scan of the body, to continue to take those nice deep breaths to carry through your practice today. And as we bring ourselves into our center and bring ourselves into our practice, it's natural and normal for errant thoughts to float in, for your to-do list for tomorrow to float in. Just notice that that's there. And without any judgment, allow it to just kind of enter and exit and move on. Bring your focus back to your practice. So with no judgment of yourself, it is natural, it is normal, but bringing yourself back when you can, recentering and refocusing. Now in these next couple of moments, I invite you to find a range of motion that feels good for you today. So now that you kind of understand where your body's at, taking a couple of moments, maybe the tension was found in your neck, so you roll the head side to side. Maybe it was through the spine, so you find a nice seated spinal twist moving side to side. Maybe it was through those obliques through the sides, so you find a nice lateral stretch. Or maybe it was down into the hips or the legs, so you lengthen the legs and just kind of find a forward fold. Wherever your tension mainly was today, trying to find a little bit of a range of motion that finds that release. And this is a little bit different for all of us, so just taking your time to feel it out. If you're not sure what's going to feel good, maybe take a moment to try a couple, and then continue on with the one that felt the best or the one that felt the most stretch here as we get started. Taking just a couple moments here, about 3 more nice deep breaths in whatever range of motion you chose. Taking one final deep breath, and if you need to even out with that second side, making sure that you take a moment to do that with whatever range of motion you are finding, and then just bringing it back to that nice centered seated position. We're going to move forward just into our spinal twist. So if you're already there, you can keep moving. That inhale finds that long spine and center. That exhale finds that twist in one direction or the other. And then just keeping it moving with the pace of your breath as we get going here. Keeping it nice and easy and connecting your breath to your movement. So like I said, we want to try and carry that breathing through our practice today. So this is the very start as we breathe, finding what feels right with that flow, taking it one more time in each direction, then we'll just change up that range of motion just a little bit here. So one more time on each side to finish this out, and then bringing it back to center. Now we're going to do another of those ranges of motion next, so we're going to work through the neck. So with that next exhale, I want you to just drop the chin to the chest. And then we're just going to roll the head side to side a couple of times, nice and easy, pulling the right ear towards the right shoulder, and then the left ear towards the left shoulder. Once again, just about 2 or 3 nice deep breaths in this range of motion before we move on, just finding that stretch. Finding one more nice deep breath. Bringing it one more time in either direction or one time in that second direction. That final exhale brings the chin back to the chest. And then that inhale lengthening through the neck once again. From here, we're going to transition to standing. So if you're facing the short edge of your mat, you can roll over the knees and then press up. If you're facing the long edge like I am, just kind of taking your time to transition up to that standing position. So in whatever way works for you and is best for you. Bringing it on up, finding your mountain pose from here. So feet in a place that feels comfortable for you. So maybe they're at hip width distance, maybe they're a little bit wider as we start today. Maybe it feels comfortable to keep them right next to each other. Finding that comfortable position. We're going to find those lateral stretches as well as just a little forward fold and spinal range of motion. So your first inhale, I want you to bring those arms out and up towards the ceiling. That next exhale is going to take us to that right side. So the right hand comes down, the left arm comes up over top. Nice big stretch there. Next inhale brings us through center, and our exhale brings us to the other side. Another inhale brings us through center, and this is where we're going to find our forward fold. So keeping your super long spine, we're going to fold it forward, right down the center. When you get to the bottom, release that spine, round it out, and you're going to roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. So it's long on the way down, you round it out on the way up, and then we're going to keep going with those 3 ranges of motion. That inhale brings us out and up. That exhale brings us down to one side. Inhale brings us through center. Exhale to that second side. Inhale back to center. Long spine on the way down, forward fold. When you hit the bottom, rounding out, rolling up. We're going to do that 2 more times through, but I want you to take it at your own pace. So if you're moving a little faster or slower than me, that's totally fine. The inhales bring us through center. The exhales bring us down to either side or into that forward fold. When you find that forward fold, long spine on the way forward, so a nice big stretch through those hamstrings, round out at the bottom, and roll it up. And like I said, we've got one more time, so if you're moving a little faster or slower, hitting that second one, moving through it. If you're moving a lot faster, maybe you find a third if you're already done with that second. Got that nice forward fold, long spine, and rolling up. When you reach the top, just bringing it back to that nice centered mountain pose with those shoulders back and down, opening up through the chest, slight lift through the chin. We're going to do just a little warm up for the feet now. So it's going to just be moving up onto those toes. We're going to do that same rotation, right foot, left foot, and then down to center. So we're going to shift our weight onto our left foot, just lift up onto those toes for a nice bottom of the foot stretch on the left. Same thing on that other side, right? Same thing on the other side, shifting your weight to the right, lifting up the left, bringing it down to center, and then just lifting both just briefly, not even for a balance necessarily, but just getting that stretch. So just a couple of times, lifting the right, lifting the left, and then bringing it through center. So we're just starting to warm up that lower leg, get that little calf stretch in, get that activation in, and also kind of starting to find your balance. So maybe the first couple times you come through center, you just have a little heel lift, and maybe you can start to find a little bit longer of a balance. I want you to find 3 more deep breaths in this triple range of motion. So breathing at whatever pace feels right with those lifts. And then when you finish that 3rd deep breath, just finishing out with those feet and bringing it right back to that centered mountain pose. We've got one more warm up here before we kind of get moving towards our flow. And this warm up is going to warm us up for our balance. It's going to warm up the legs and the glutes a little bit. So first thing we're going to do is shift our weight onto our left leg once again. So you're just kind of maybe bringing the right foot up to the toes. From here, we've got 3 ranges of motion. The first one's going to be to the front. So I want you to lift that knee up. We're balanced now on that left leg. From here, you're going to extend your leg as long as you can. So extending it out and then just pedal it down, tap those toes down. Second range of motion's out to the side. I want you to keep that foot flexed as you press that foot out to the side, finding that activation through the hip. Bring it back in and tap those toes down. And then we'll go to the back. So once again, keeping that foot flexed, we're extending back, keeping that leg long and activating those glutes, bringing it back to center. And then we're just going to trade sides. So shifting your weight onto that other foot. We've got the front first. So bringing it up, extending it long, bringing it down, tap those toes down. Same thing to the side. Foot is flexed. We lift to the side, bring it in, tap those toes down, and then back. We've got the glutes, extending backwards, and then bring it in. Now this time I want you to challenge yourself. When we get back to this first foot, if you can go without tapping your toes down and find your balance, we're going to go twice through on this side. So bringing it down, instead of tapping them, floating those toes if you can, tapping if you need to, out to the side for that hip, and then to the back. We're going to do it a second time with this right leg, same thing. We've got that lift, trying not to tap those toes down if you can stay away from it. Out to the side, to the back. And then from there, we'll shift sides, same thing on that other side. A little challenge, if you can go twice through, trying to avoid tapping those toes down if you can, to the front, to the side, and then to the back. Same thing a second time through. And we'll just do this one more time on each leg, but we're going to take it up a notch and do it 3 times through on each side. So when you finish that second one on that second side, transfer your weight back. One more time through on each side. We're going to do 3 here. So we've got 3, trying to avoid tapping your toes for as long as you can, keeping your balance. Finding those 3 ranges of motion 3 times through. Now, whatever pace you need to move at here, if it's a little faster or a little slower, that's okay. I'm on my second of 3 rounds here. I've just got one more time through, trying to keep my balance. And starting to feel through the legs that little bit of activation, not only on that balanced leg, but on that working leg, that leg that's moving. Like I said last time on this side, so when you're ready, 3 times through on that second side, trying to keep your balance, keep it controlled, and find those 3 ranges of motion. From here, we'll kind of get moving a little bit more, but just finishing out our activation. I'm on my second of 3 here. When you finish your third, we're going to move to standing at the back of our mats. So take your time to finish out those last 3 ranges of motion. And then setting that foot down, maybe giving your legs a little bit of a shake, a little break if you held that balance. And then, like I said, we're going to move to the back of our mat to get started with our flow today. So when you get there, finding that mountain pose once again, those feet are about hip width apart. The heel's not quite on the back of the mat. There's about a foot's distance, so my foot distance between the back of my foot and the back of the mat. I'm going to start with just a couple inchworms to get the upper body and the core warmed up. So I want you to inhale, bring the arms out and up. As you exhale, fold it forward, bringing it down towards the mat. From here, we're going to inchworm out, nice and easy. So I want you to walk those hands out into that high plank position. And then from there, we're just going to walk it right back in. So walk those hands back into those toes, transfer your weight back to your feet. and roll it up nice and slow to standing. We'll just find a couple of those here. That inhale brings us out and up. Exhale folds us forward. We find those fingertips, start to walk out all the way to that plank. Nice plank position, and then walk it back in and up to nice and tall. We're gonna find that twice more. We're keeping it going. That inhale brings us up. Exhale folds us forward. Walks those hands out to that nice high plank position. Walks us back in. And then rolls it up. We've got one more here. Last time. All right, exhale folds us forward. Walks us out to that plank position. And then brings us back in. Last time to that forward fold and rolls us up to standing. All right, now it's a little bit tougher than it looks. They're also not too tough. Give those wrists a couple rolls if they need a second when you get back to the top. We're gonna do it again, but we're gonna keep moving from our plank. So big inhale brings us out and up. Exhale folds us forward. We're gonna inchworm it out to that high plank position. So walk those hands out, high plank position, rough on those hands from here, from the knees or from the toes, lowering through our chaturanga all the way to low. Turning the toes over, lifting up into that cobra or that upward facing dog, and then turning those toes over. We're gonna press the hips back to child's pose, and then straight up to that downward facing dog. So we're gonna do that one more time. I want you to shift the shoulders out over the wrists from the toes or from the knees. We lower down through our chaturanga. Our inhale presses the chest up. From here, we've got our child's pose, so set those knees down, set those hips back. And then we're gonna press it up to our downward facing dog once again, right here. Now we're gonna find a second to activate through the core. We're gonna find a half mountain climber from our three-legged dog. Right foot goes up and back, nice and long towards that ceiling. Now from here, as we shift the shoulders over the wrists, we're gonna bring that knee in between those elbows. So almost into our mountain climber pose, and we're gonna shift up and back once again. So back into that three-legged dog, shoulders press back, same thing. Press it out into that mountain climber position. And up and back into that three-legged dog. Twice more, just like that. Press it forward. And bring it up. Last time. Shift the shoulders over the wrists. Press it forward. And then last time up into that three-legged dog. Now we're going to go as if you were going to do that, but we're going to drop it into pigeon. So shift it forward. Bring that shin forward. Set it down. Let the top or the back, top of the back foot meet the mat. And we're in that nice pigeon pose here. Now, since this is our first time in it, I want to take a couple of moments in this pigeon. So, sitting those hips down nice and even in between. Maybe you're sitting up a little bit higher if your hips are tighter. Maybe you're a little bit lower if not. And I want you to find a position here that feels comfortable. So maybe you bring it down to those elbows, or let the top of the head meet the mat. Just taking a couple of moments to find that nice big stretch there. As we move forward with this, we will kind of move in and out of it a little bit more quickly, but we will take at least a breath or two in it each time. I just want to give our muscles a chance to be ready to move in and out of this pose. Now from here, if you found the forearms or the head to the mat, I want you to bring it up so that you're nice and tall. We've got this long spine. If you can, remove your hands from the mat. I want you to inhale to circle the mountain up so that we're stretched up as long as we can with that torso. Meet the palms overhead. Exhale. Pull them down to heart center. Bring those hands back to the mat. Curl the back toes under, lift the knee, and we're going to bring that right foot back so that it meets the left in our downward facing dog. So, pressing those hips up, right foot goes back to meet the left. Now, from here, normally we're going to transition a little bit differently, but I want to take a second to go through it. Lift that right foot up off of the mat once again. Shift it forward so that the knees between the elbows, and we're back in that low plank. Now, instead of just shifting up to our three-legged dog, I want you to cross that leg over the other. So the right leg is crossed over the left, and then kind of shift back up into that three-legged dog. So we're not into three-legged dog, but with the leg crossed over. So we are in three-legged, the foot is not up and back. Now from here, we're going to transition to a side plank. So your right hand and your left foot are on the mat. I'm going to turn that left heel down, open up through that left leg. The right leg is crossed over, so it's on top. One big inhale there. Exhale, pulls that hand down, lifts that heel back up. We're back in that crossover, downward facing dog. Now here's a tough one. Our inchworm is going to take us back. So we're still on that left foot. Our inchworm is going to bring us back so we're balanced on it. This is the adaptation of our eagle pose. So from here you've got options. You can go all the way up into that eagle with that foot crossed over and that hand crossed under. If your balance isn't quite there yet, maybe you just work on lifting those fingers an inch or two off the ground, bringing them back down, taking just a moment, finding that strength through that standing leg. With our next inhale, we're gonna lengthen both legs and uncross that right from the left. You're gonna set it down and we're gonna go back into our forward fold. So taking a moment, pedal out those heels, give them a second, and we're back to the very beginning. So we're just gonna move through that same thing on the other side. I'm just inhale, roll it all the way up. Find those palms meeting overhead and pull them down to heart center. Next inhale, presses those arms back up. We exhale to swan dive forward into our forward fold. Here comes that inchworm that we worked on. Go ahead and lock those hands out into that nice high plank position. From here, toes or knees, go ahead and lower down through your chaturanga. Inhale, presses the chest up. Cobra or upward facing dog. Lower those knees if you're in up dog. Press it back to child's pose. Curl the toes under, hips go up and back. Downward facing dog. Now here we've got our mountain climber. Our inhale lifts that left foot up and back. We exhale to shift the shoulders over the wrists and pull that knee in between the elbows. Same thing 3 more times. Inhale shifts us up. Exhale brings us out. Nice high plank here. This is a tough one. Inhale brings us up. 2 more. Exhale shifts us out. And 1 more time. That inhale presses us up. Exhale shifts us out. Shoulders over wrists. Bring us up and back. Last time into our 3-legged dog. This shifts us into our pigeon. So we're shifting it out. We're placing that shin down. We're taking that pressure off of the hands. So top of that right foot meets the mat. And then from here, same as the other side, we're going to take a couple moments to adjust to this positioning. So you can bring it down to the elbows. You can bring it down to the forehead. If it's more comfortable to stay up a little taller, I invite you to also do that. I'm just taking these couple of moments to sit those hips down right in between, nice and even. Find that little bit of a stretch. Maybe you're up a little bit higher if the hips are a little tighter, that's okay. All right. Now, same thing if you can. I want you to walk it in so that that torso is up nice and tall. You can lift those hands, bring them out and up. Long away from center, pull the palms together, exhale to bring them down, and then plant those hands on the mat. Now this time we're gonna do it with that transition from here to that leg crossed over. So curl that back to under, lift that knee up. This time, instead of bringing it to our down dog, we're gonna bring it to that modified 3-legged. So as you shift the hips up, cross the left leg over the right. From here, we're gonna find our side plank. This time the left leg stays down as we turn the right heel down, right arm lifts up very briefly into that side plank with that left leg on top. Exhale pulls us back down to center, into that modified 3-legged dog, and then our inchworm brings us in towards that eagle. So once again, walking those hands in, planting that right foot. If you have your balance, you can lift it up into that eagle, left leg's crossed over, so left arm goes underneath. If you're not quite sure on that balance today, maybe you just practice lifting those fingers for just a second and then bringing them back down. Next inhale releases that leg, so stands us up tall, release that leg, plant it down, and then find that forward fold. All right, next inhale pulls us all the way up, arms come overhead, palms meet. Exhale pulls us down to heart center. We're gonna keep going with that. We're gonna keep moving just a little faster. Inhale brings us up. Exhale, swan dives us forward, forward fold. Walking it out through that inchworm, out to our high plank position. High or low through our chaturanga, toes or knees, bringing it down. Inhale, presses the chest up, cobra or down or up dog. Knees stay down, we press back through child's pose. Curl those toes under, press the hips up and back, downward facing dog. From here, we've got our 4 half mountain climbers. Right foot goes up and back. As we exhale, we shift forward, we bring that elbow between, and that knee between the elbows, and then we bring it up and back 1 more time. 3 times through here again. Out. Inhale to bring us back up. Twice more for 4 total. Brings us out. Inhale brings us up. Last time through it. Exhale brings us out. Inhale brings us up. We're gonna find that pigeon. Shift it forward, set that shin down. Bring those hips down nice and even, let the top of the foot meet the mat. Now from here, like I said very briefly, we're gonna sweep those arms up. We're gonna pull the palms together, bring it down to heart center, and we're gonna keep moving. So plant those hands, curl that left toe under. We're going right to that foot crossed over. So as you lift the hips, the right leg crosses that left. From here, we've got our side plank. So as our left heel comes down, our left arm comes up, right arm is down. We're in that side plank, nice and stable and steady. Exhale brings us down to center, pulling that left heel back up off the floor. We're going to our eagle. Walk those hands back. Find that foot. Once again, if you've got that balance, you can bring it right into it. The right leg is over, so the right arm comes under. You need a little bit more work on that balance. Still, once again, practicing lifting those fingertips off of the mat. Taking a second. Next inhale extends, uncrosses. Exhale pulls us down into that forward fold. Next inhale rolls us all the way up. Extended mountain, those arms meet, those hands meet overhead. We exhale to pull it down to heart center. Moving through it again. Inhale presses us up. Exhale pulls us forward. We've got that inchworm out, taking those feet or those hands away from those feet. From toes or knees, we lower through our chaturanga. Inhale presses us up. Cobra or up dog. We move through child's pose as we press the hips back and the knees down. We lift the hips, curl the toes under. They go up and back in our downward facing dog. 4 times in that 3-legged dog to mountain climber. Left foot goes up and back. We shift out with our exhale. Inhale brings us up. Exhale shifts us out. Inhale presses us up. Twice more for that 4 total. Exhale shifts us out. Inhale presses us up. Last time through, out, in, and back up. We've got our pigeon. Taking that shin down to the mat. Sitting those hips down nice and even. Again, we'll take just a moment here. So we're going to inhale, pull those arms up. Hands meet overhead. We exhale to pull them down to heart center. From here, we're going right down to the mat. So plant those hands. Curl that right toe under. We're bringing it to our leg crossed over, our modified 3-legged dog. So hips shift up, that leg crosses over. From here, side plank. Our right heel comes down, our left hand stays down, our right hand comes up. Opens into that crossed over side plank. Exhale pulls us back down. Lifts that heel up, modified downward facing dog. We're walking those hands into that eagle pose. Leg is still crossed over. Once again, same thing. You can bring it up. Left arm goes under as that left hand is over top, or maybe you still just work on lifting those fingertips a little bit off of that mat. Next inhale lengthens, uncrosses. Exhale folds us forward. Inhale rolls us up. Hands meet overhead. Exhale pulls it down to heart center. We're just going to move through that. One more time on each side. Stick with me, guys. Inhale brings those arms up. We exhale to fold forward. Walking it out through that inchworm out to our hind plank positions. From toes or knees, we lower down, chaturanga. Inhale presses the chest up. Through child's pose, we press the hips back. We lift them up, we curl the toes under, back to our downward facing dog. This time we're just going to do 2 of those 3-legged dog to mountain climbers. So once here, lift it up, press that knee forward. We've only got 1 more here after this. Lift it up, press that knee forward. And now from here, we've got that transition to pigeon. So lifting it up, bringing it forward and setting that shin down. Sitting those hips down nice and even. Let that back foot meet the top of the foot meet the mat. Inhale, circles those arms up. Palms meet. We exhale to pull them down to heart center. Go ahead and bring those hands down to the mat. Roll that back toe under. We're bringing it to that crossed over leg in our modified 3-legged dog. So as you lift the hips, we cross that right leg over the left. Side plank is first. Left heel comes down, right hand stays down, left arm opens up. Exhale, pulls us back down to that center, that modified 3-legged dog. We're walking it in for our eagle. Hands come back towards that foot. We find that balance. If you have it, we're bringing it up. Right foot is over, so right arm is under. If you don't, still working on that little lift. Next inhale, shifts those hips up, plants that foot, brings us to that forward fold. And one last time, bring it all the way up, palms meet overhead, pulls it down to heart center. Final time for you guys, which is that opposite side. Inhale, brings those arms up. Exhale, swan dives forward, forward fold. Walk it out through that inchworm, all the way out to that high plank position. Chaturanga, high low, toes or knees. Press the chest up dog. Let those knees meet the mat. Hips sit back, child's pose. Curl the toes under, lift the hips. Downward facing dog. Twice through that three-legged dog to mountain climber. Left foot up and back. Left knee out between those elbows. Once more, just like that. Left foot up and back. Left knee out between those elbows. And then we're bringing it up and back one final time. We're bringing it to that pigeon here. So setting that shin down, letting the top of that right foot meet the mat. Inhale, circles those arms up, lengthens through that upper body, pulls the palms together, exhale down to heart center. Plant those hands on the mat. We're bringing it to that modified three-legged dog. Curl the right toe under. As you lift the hips up, we cross that leg over. From here, we transition to that side plank. Right heel meets the mat, right arm comes up. Exhale, pulls us back down. We're walking it in for that eagle. So reverse that inchworm final time here. I know that's a tough one. Sitting those hips back if you've got that balance. Left foot is over, so left arm comes under. Next inhale brings us up, releases that leg. Exhale, folds us forward. Next inhale rolls us all the way up, palms meet overhead. And exhale, pulls it down to heart center. We're gonna find an inhale to press those fingertips up towards the ceiling, and an exhale to swan dive it forward. We're gonna take just a little brief pause here in our forward fold before we finish out. So I want you to just take this time, maybe pedal out the heels a little bit, maybe let the head and neck relax, maybe walk those fingertips side to side. Just taking a couple moments, find a couple breaths. And then next inhale, go ahead and roll it up. All right, so we're gonna finish out kind of the way we started with that three-direction balance pose. Now that we've done a whole ton of eagle and really challenged our balance, I wanna just bring us back to it. And maybe working on your balance has tired out that standing leg, and this will be tougher. Or maybe working on that balance has kind of improved your stability here. So I just want you to kind of feel it out as we go. We're gonna do sets of 2, so bring it to that standing position, shifting your weight onto your left foot. We're gonna lift that right knee. We're gonna extend that leg long, trying to keep your balance here if you can, not tapping those toes down. We're extending it out to the side. We're bringing it to the back. And then one more time through on this side. Just notice how you're feeling, noticing where your stability is. We lift up, we extend, we bring it down. If you can float those toes, keep them up. Out to the side, in, and to the back. Extending back, and then go ahead and shift your weight over to that other foot. Same thing last time here, twice through on this side. When you find that balance, we're lifting that knee, we're extending that leg, we're pedaling it down. Foot goes out to the side. We bring it in, press it back, and we've got one more time through. Lift that knee, extend that leg, bring it down, out to the side, in, and the last time, bring it to the back, and down. All right, take a second, shake it out. We're gonna finish out with just a couple of deep breaths in the same way that we started, but just with that lateral bending rather than with that forward fold. So next big inhale, sweeps those arms out and up. Our exhale brings us down to the right, brings us up over top, nice big stretch. Inhale through center. Exhale, second direction. Inhale back to center, and this time we're just gonna circle those arms down and around with that exhale. Same thing last time, just like that. Big inhale brings us out and up. Exhale brings us down to one side, up over top. Inhale brings us through center. Exhale, second side. Inhale to center. Exhale down and around. Give me one more nice deep breath here to finish out our first 40. Palms meet overhead. Exhale, pulls the hands down to heart center. I just want to transition us to hands and knees to find a little cat and cow, since we haven't gotten that in today yet. A little bit of spinal range of motion before we get started in our next one. So using this moment to transition in a way that feels right, letting those shoulders come right over the wrists, letting the hips come right over the knees, and then moving right into your cat and cow. That inhale presses the belly towards the floor and lifts the chin. That exhale rounds the spine out towards the ceiling and tucks the chin in towards the chest. So just moving through this once again, a couple of nice deep breaths, finding this range of motion here. And now I want to transition it to a lateral range of motion. So find one more nice deep breath in your cat and cow, and then bring the spine back to center. Bringing it nice and long, right and centered. From here, we're just gonna, like I said, find a lateral range of motion. So as you inhale, just that long spine and center. As you exhale, looking over that right shoulder, pulling that right hip up towards your gaze, and then inhale moves us through center, same thing to the other side. So we're kind of moving our eyes and our shoulder towards our hip, and our hip towards our eyes and our shoulder. So bring it back and forth a couple of times here. Find that little bit of a different spinal range of motion. Try and find it once more in each direction. Maybe you find 3 if you were on that first range of motion once again. And then when you're done, go ahead and bring it back to center. And we didn't take a ton of time in our downward facing dog in our first practice, so I wanted to take the time to do that today. Go ahead and curl those toes under, press those hips up and back into that nice downward facing dog. Taking a moment here, maybe you pedal out those heels, finding that nice big stretch of the calf. Maybe you move the hips side to side, maybe let the head and neck relax and release. Shaking the head yes or no. All right, and this is where we're going to start our flow here as we get going. So starting in that nice downward facing dog position, I want you to find 3-legged dog with that right leg, press it up and back. We're going to move it to a low lunge from here. So our exhale sweeps it forward and plants that foot. I'm just going to turn around so it's facing the right direction here. So our right foot is forward, our left leg is back long. From this position, I just want you to take a moment, sink into this, find that nice stretch of that left hip flexor here, and then we're going to transition to a side lunge. So I want you to turn that left heel down and turn those right toes to face that side wall. So we're in this side lunge position. So that right knee is bent, we've got that nice big stretch through this side. From here, we're going to bring it just to a wide leg forward fold. So lengthen that right leg and then fold it down the center here. Taking just a moment to find that nice stretch. If those fingertips are a little bit above the floor, pressing them down. If they're on the floor, bringing the palms to the floor. Maybe you turn those fingertips around and face it backwards. Now from here, we're going to transition to our deep Buddha squat. So I want you to just put a little pressure through those hands, shifting your weight forward, and just heel toe those feet in so they're a little bit wider than hip width apart, with the toes pointing outward and the heels pointing in towards your body. From here, we're going to sink those hips down in between into our deep Buddha squat. So if you get there and need to readjust, like I need to bring the feet in a little narrower or a little wider, that's fine. If your balance is a little off and you need to keep the hands down, you can, or you can pull those palms up, target center, pressing out on those knees. From here, we're going to transition to our crow. If it's in your practice already, I invite you to transition right into it. If you need a little assistance, that's what I'm here for. So from this nice deep Buddha squat, we're going to plant those hands just slightly inside of those feet, but a little bit in front of them. Our knees are already on the back of our triceps here. We're going to shift forward, bend at the elbows, and bring those knees to the back of the triceps. So from here, our weight is going up to our hands. Now, if you've never done this before, maybe you just practice pulling one set of toes off of the floor, shifting your weight forward, and then the other set. If you feel pretty stable and sturdy in this, maybe you shift your weight a little bit further forward and try and get both sets of toes off the floor for just a moment. Now, if you're in it already, next nice exhale sinks us back nice and easy, plants those feet, brings those heels back down, and sinks us into that deep Buddha squat. Once again, don't worry, we'll come back to that. We still have to hit the other side. From here, keep those fingertips towards the floor, extend those feet up, or those legs up nice and long. We're back in a forward fold. We're moving it to our, words are hard today, you guys, to our warrior one. There we go. So those right toes, we're going to turn back out to face the front of the mat. We're going to turn that left heel back so our feet are a little bit shallower than that warrior two stance. Bend through that right knee, sweep those arms up into that warrior one position. So our left toes are a little bit of an angle, our right knee is bent, our hips are trying to face forward. From here, we're going back to that balance, we're going to reach to our warrior three. Shift it forward, lift the left foot up off of the floor, find your balance, try and get those arms nice and long. If those toes need to tap down and refind it, take that second. Nice, our next exhale, shifts our hips back, plants that left foot, and then we fold it back forward into our forward fold. Right foot goes back to meet the left, downward facing dog. All right, we're back to the beginning. Let's do it on the other side. Left foot up and back, three-legged dog. Brings us forward into that lunge. Taking a second to sink into it. Find that nice stretch through that hamstring in this low crescent lunge here. We're transitioning to that side lunge. Turn those left toes to face, turn that right heel down. That left knee is bent, that right leg is long. From here, we've got our forward fold with those wide legs. So lengthen that left leg. We've got our fold down the center. Taking a moment once again. Maybe you try and press those palms to the ground. Maybe you bring them backwards and float them down in between. Whew. All right, from here, we're transitioning to that deep Buddha squat. So I want you to heel toe those feet in, shift your weight to your fingers, bringing those toes to point out, those heels to point in, sink those hips down in between. Maybe you can find your balance, pressing on the insides of those knees to find that nice hip stretch. If you can't quite find your balance there, feel free to leave those hands on the floor. From here, we're going to transition back to that crow. So once again, we're planting those hands, we're shifting it forward, placing those knees on the triceps, and trying to just lift off one set of toes or the other. If it's in your practice, trying to bring it up, find that little balance hold. Maybe you just keep both sets of toes on the ground and you practice that placement. Next, exhale, gently sets those feet down, shifts our weight back off of those arms, and we lengthen those legs. We're in that forward fold. From here, we're transitioning back to that warrior one. So I want you to turn those left toes to face forward, turn those right toes so we're at that 45-degree angle. Nice bend through that left knee, sweep those arms up. Warrior one, hips face forward. Warrior three, from here, we shift off of that right foot. When we bring it up, we're nice and even here if you can be. Maybe those toes tap down to find that balance. Maybe lift a little higher. Next exhale, places that foot back down. Knees folded forward, playing those hands. Left foot goes back to meet the right, downward facing dog. Same thing, we're gonna go through it one more time on each side. Three-legged dog, right foot goes up and back. Exhale, shift that foot forward into our lunge. From here, we're gonna find that low side lunge. We're gonna turn that left heel down. Turn those right toes to face the side of the mat. We're in that nice side lunge position. All right, from here, we're lengthening up. We've got our wide leg forward fold. Fingertips are towards the mat, both legs are long. And go ahead and shift your weight towards those hands, heel toe those feet in. Bring it down into that deep Buddha squat. Hips sit down in between if they can. Lift those hands if you can. Take that moment, try and press on the insides of those knees just a little bit, opening up. From here, our next exhale shifts us into that crow position. Plant those hands, shift that weight forward. Once again, maybe you just work on that positioning. Maybe you try and get those toes off of the floor for that little bit of extra balance there. Next exhale, nice and easy, sinks us back. Plants those feet, lifts those hips. We're shifting it to that warrior one. Right toes turn to face the front of the mat. We've got that 45-degree angle with the left, bend through that right knee, sweep those arms up. Warrior three here. Shift your weight off of your left. Bring it to that balance. Nice and long, a little bit of lift. Try and keep those hips closed. Next exhale, sinks it back to that warrior one, and brings those palms down. Right foot goes back to meet the left. Downward facing dog. Same thing, left side, last time you do this here. Left foot goes up and back. Bring it forward to that lunge. We're bringing it over to that low side lunge, turn those left toes, and bring that right hand or right heel down. Oh, words, wow. Wide leg forward fold, guys. Lengthen that left leg, hold them down the center. Once again, take the second, challenge that stretch a little bit. From there, go ahead and bring the weight towards the hands, heel toe those feet in. Toes point out, heels point in, send those hips down in between. Deep Buddha squat. Lift those hands if you can, press those elbows to the inside of the knees. Last time in that crow, next exhale shifts it forward, plants those hands, brings the knees to the back of the triceps, tries to find that balance if you can, maybe just one tiny step further than the other time. Nice job, you guys. Next exhale, nice and easy, sinks those back, lift those hips, forward fold. For last time into that warrior one, turn those left toes to face the short edge of the mat. We've got that 45-degree angle with the right, bend through that left knee, sweep those arms up. Warrior one. Next exhale, shifts us out to warrior three, a little balance pose here. Trying to keep those hips closed. Next exhale, nice and soft, glance that right foot back to that warrior one, and bring those palms down, left foot goes back to meet the right, downward facing dog. I'm going to take just a moment for a little break here, so choose your recovery pose. If you want to stick in this down dog, you can. If you want to bring it down to dolphin, you can. If you want to bring it down to child's pose, you can. Choosing whatever feels right for you today for that little bit of a recovery. Downward dog allows you to keep that challenge a little bit, but isn't too tiring for those wrists. I invite you to stay there. If you need that extra second to catch your breath before we transition into our final stretches, I also invite you to find that. All right, if you're in that dolphin or that downward dog, maybe you should bring it to that child's pose. Nice and easy, set the knees down, sink those hips back. Nice big stretch. Now from your child's pose, you're welcome to find any iteration that feels good. So right down center is awesome. If you want to walk those hands a little bit side to side to find that stretch, that's awesome. If those triceps need a little recovery after all those crow poses, you can bend at the elbow, bring the hands to the shoulders, and find that nice little bit of extra tricep and chest stretch in your child's pose. Taking just an extra moment here. Recentering, finding your breath once again. From this position, we're going to shift those hips forward into our cobra. So bringing those knees in just slightly, shifting the hips down to the mat, lift the hands, cobra pose, lift the chest. Maybe let the head knock back just a little bit. Opening up through the front side of the body, a little back stretch. Press those hips back just to that hands and knees position. And for our final stretch today, we're going to find our puppy into spinal twists. So hips stay high, hands walk out as if you were coming into that child's pose, but with those hips high. So hips don't come back towards the heels, but we find that nice big stretch through the chest, through the shoulders as you press the chest down towards the mat. Now from here, we've got a spinal twist, so I want you to take that right arm and I want you to thread it through underneath, planting that shoulder down on the mat and finding that initial spinal twist from here. Now from this position, you're welcome to take this left arm where it feels right. So if out long is perfect, that's great. If you want to pull it in a little for more stability, that's awesome. If you want to open it up to our half bind, lifting towards the ceiling, bringing the hand around behind the back, opening up through the chest, that also works for a little bit more intensive version of this spinal twist. Taking about 3 nice deep breaths in any of those options that felt right for you. When you finish that 3rd deep breath, I invite you to press your left palm back into the ground, bring it back to that center for just a moment, planting that right hand as well, finding that puppy pose, stretch with those hips high and those hands out long. And then bringing it to that other side, spinal twist. Left hand threads underneath, planting that shoulder. And then once again, that right hand can find the iteration that feels best. So you can find that half bind, you can find that palm a little closer, or you can keep it right at center with that nice big stretch. Taking 2 more nice deep breaths here. When you finish that second deep breath, planting that right hand, bring us back to center one more time. So bring that left palm back out long to meet the right. Last time into that puppy pose. Nice big chest stretch here. And then go ahead and walk those hands in, sit those hips back, and then I invite you to finish out in our comfortable seated position. So if on the knees is awesome, you can stay there. If you want to shift the hips around, so you're back in that cross-legged position, or with the feet out in front, we're just going to finish out with 2 nice deep breaths here. So once you hit that comfortable seated position, whatever that means to finish out today, our next big inhale brings those arms out and up. When you get there, I want you to stretch nice and long away from center. Bring those fingertips up as far as you can, and then that exhale circles us down and around. One more time. This time the palms meet overhead. Inhale brings us out and up. Still we stretch super long, but those palms meet, and our exhale pulls those hands down to heart center. Thank you so much for sharing your Monday evening with me. It's great to have you all here. The light in me honors, the light in you, bowing as we say namaste.